So we're going to talk a little bit about mediumship and life. So the first part is going to be mediumship, and the second part is going to be life. Yeah. I think sometimes we take for granted that we know so much about mediumship when we start studying Spiritism. And I think it would be useful to go back to some of the basics and go through some questions and answers that, for example, people who are beginning to study Spiritism or people who are interested in mediumship may have about mediumship. Yeah? And then the second part, that is about the life, I'm going to open for discussion, and then I'll tell you later on what we are going to talk about. Okay, so what is a medium? A medium is anyone who possesses the ability to perceive the spirit world in any way. Since such awareness is found in everyone, Spiritism teaches us that we are all mediums. Now, for the sake of clarity, when Spiritism talks about mediumship, it refers to the person whose awareness of the spirit world has reached a level in which the person is conscious of the phenomena and in which direct controlled spirit communication is at least a possibility. So it states that we all have this ability to communicate or to perceive the spirit world, but for the sake of clarity, in Spiritism they talk about mediumship as this developed ability, right? When you are able to really connect to the spirits and communicate or pass their message to us. In all mediumship phenomena, the medium is just the messenger for the communication and not the author. Yeah? So we are being intermediaries, mediums, as the word implies. And this is the definition from the Medium's book. Everyone who is in any degree influenced by spirits is, by that very fact, a medium. This faculty is inherent in man and is therefore no exclusive privilege. In fact, there are few persons in whom some rudiments of medianimity are not found. We may therefore assume that everyone, or nearly everyone, is a medium. Nevertheless, this qualification is only practically applicable to those in whom the medianimic faculty is clearly characterized, producing well-marked results, and this depends upon the greater or less degree of sensitivity of the organization. The organization being the body. Yeah? So, in the first question, he says, someone who has an awareness of the spiritual world. So how does this awareness occur? The spirit world is a series of dimensions, different dimensions with different levels of vibration, existing different vibrations than that of our own material world. Yeah? So they're different, they vibrate in different frequencies. A medium, to put it very simply, is like a radio that can be in tune to different radio frequencies or different dimensions under particular circumstances. And this particular type of awareness is like any other of our senses. So I think one of the great contributions of Spiritism to the understanding of mediumship is this one, where it takes away the supernatural aspect of it, yeah, and tells us that it is a faculty, a sense, an ability, yeah, that with time, maybe, I think, it will be widespread. Nowadays, I think it's still a bit, it sounds a bit supernatural, I think, to us, but the more we study and the more we learn about it and practice it, it becomes natural and common, like not any other faculties we have. For example, intelligence or the ability to play the piano or something like that. Something that is natural and that will strengthen the relationship between the material and the spiritual world to a point, I think, in the future where it will be possible for them or for us to live in both of them with more awareness than we do now. Yeah, and I think, I suppose, and I hope it will be better than feeling like we are just too much grounded here in the material world and only eventually sensing and feeling the spiritual world. Yeah, so it's sixth sense or something like that. I found another book by a Brazilian author, José Herculano Pires. I don't think it has been translated, and it's called Mediumship, Life and Communication, my translation. And where he says, mediumship is the natural human faculty through which the relationships between incarnates and discarnates is established. Mediumship belongs to the field of communication. It develops naturally in people with a greater sensitivity to tune into the psychic and affective vibrations from the spirits. Just as intelligence and other human faculties, mediumship develops in the process of relationships. Yeah, so I think it's important here to emphasize the words communication and relationships, because this is what mediumship is about. Yeah? And I think this is a question I had before I started studying Spiritism and getting to know more about mediumship. So if I'm a medium, does that mean that I'm more evolved or that I'm a better person than the others? So being an active medium means I am more evolved than those who are not. That very much depends on what you mean by more evolved. Certainly being an active medium means that in your long development of the ability of mediumship, you have finally reached a certain point. So you may have evolved in your mediumistic abilities or in your mediumship, in your ability, in your faculty. You have finally reached a certain point, but if by the phrase more evolved you mean more ethically, morally, or spiritually evolved, then the answer is no. Yeah, because being natural ability and being a sense, like any other of our senses, it doesn't mean that if I have mediumship, if I am a medium, I am more spiritually evolved. The same way as if I am really intelligent, it doesn't mean that I am really spiritually evolved. I can be, but maybe not. It's the same thing. A person's mediumship development does not reflect their evolution in any other aspect of their being. Anyone, from the most ethical to the most unethical individual, can develop mediumship ability. You should see mediumship like any other ability, like a talent for sports, music, or carpentry. Any person can possess such gifts, but that in no way implies a high or low level of ethical or spiritual growth. Of course, if you take it to you to develop your mediumship in a very ethical way, of course, this is a tool to help your spiritual evolution. Yeah? But the mere fact of being a medium does not grant you a spiritual evolution. Yeah? Other question. I can see and hear spirits. How do my five senses perceive the spirit communications? And here I think we need to remember that for pedagogical purposes, Kardec divided mediumship in two types. One is intelligent effects, is it? And physical effects. Yeah. So there are mediums who produce physical effects that can be seen or heard by everybody, even by those who are not mediums. But these are not, I think, these are not very common nowadays. They used to be very common at the beginning when Spiritism first started with knockings and revolving tables and with materializations. Yeah, people needed proof, physical proof. So these mediums were in a higher number, I think, in a greater number. And I think the most common type of mediumship nowadays, it's the intelligent effects, where only the medium can see or hear or write the message or gives communication through his or her voice. So here they're asking, how are my five senses involved in the spirit communications? Your five senses have nothing to do with your mediumship. Mediumship here for the intelligent effects. Yeah, that's why I wanted to make the difference. Mediumship is its own distinct sense, disconnected from the other five. You perceive spirits with your mind. The information is processed by your brain, and the brain interprets the communication as if it were coming from the eyes, ears, or other sensory organs. But in fact, sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell are not involved. Yeah? So we see with different eyes, and we hear with different ears, and they're all in our minds or perispirit.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I thought we perceived the perispirit.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is a way to explain for people who are really beginning to study Spiritism. And I was in a doubt of a brain, just my brain. No, it's the perispirit, yeah? And it's what some people call your mind's eye. We don't call that in Spiritism, but it's a synonym or something like that.
Or third eye.
Yeah, yeah. So how can mediumship be a tool for learning and improvement? Any tool or experience that is a part of our lives is a critical part of the learning process. Mediumship is a tool that we can use freely, and so how we use this ability will be a direct reflection of our ethical growth and of the vital lessons we have yet to learn. Just like with any person in school, learning happens from understanding both the successes and the failures. So yeah, like I mentioned before, yeah, it's a tool for our improvement if we use it the right way and not the wrong way. And that goes to the question, so does mediumship have a right and wrong way of using it, and we learn from using it correctly and incorrectly too? So yeah, if we use it incorrectly or in the wrong way, there's a lesson to be learned as well, yeah? Maybe a painful lesson, but yeah, there's a lesson. The right way of using mediumship is based on the same reasonable standard as in making any other ethical choice. It's your choice, we have free will, yeah? You misuse mediumship when you use it to exploit others, to cause harm, for self-indulgence, exploitation, abuse, manipulation, and as a tool for violence. So these are all the wrong ways of using it. And you use the tool correctly when you use it to help others, to bring enlightenment, and to give selflessly without any personal gain. The way we use our mediumship and the consequences of these uses will make us directly aware of our virtues and our faults. So, yeah, in Spiritism, we talk about giving freely what we received freely. So mediumship is a gift that we must give freely and not charge for it and not use it in our own benefit or for our personal gain. And there are many examples and cases of people who were meant to use mediumship the right way, but then ended up using it the wrong way. And the book, The Messengers, that we were talking about earlier, they have lots of examples of spirits who reincarnated with the purpose of using mediumship to their own evolution and to help others, but then when they came here, they forgot all about it. And it was really painful to see them back there, yeah, regretting their choices. For example, one of them was using it for personal gain and for charging and things like that. The other one was really proud. He became famous, and then lost it as well. So you must be very careful, and always remember that it will have consequences. Yeah. And it's very easy, I think, very easy to, when we incarnate or reincarnate, to forget. Although I think there are many reminders along the way, go and do this and do that, and it's not always easy to follow the path of serving in mediumship, for the good purpose.
Can I say something? The way I see mediumship is like an emerging sense, because it's a sense that we have, but it's like there, dormant. And we we have developed more like speech or other sense, but this is an emerging sense. So everybody has it in an immersion way. And the way I see is that the responsibility is the same as when you speak.
Mhm.
The responsibility of mediumship is the same like the way you see things. So people tend to lose like hearing because they didn't use that well. It's all about this, isn't it? Like if you don't use your power of speaking in a good way to help others,
Yeah, sure.
and if you gossip too much, there you have the consequence of that. The leadership is
It's the same.
exactly the
Yeah,
same.
it's the same thing. So all our senses and all our abilities should be used for good purposes, our own evolution and also to help others. Yeah? This is the aim. So what kind of preparations does a medium need to use this gift for good? So yeah, we need to use mediumship for good. So how can the medium prepare in order to be a good medium or something like that? Seriousness in purpose and use of the mediumship, like we mentioned. Yeah. So the serious mediums understand that their faculty has been given to them as a gift by which they can progress spiritually through their assistance to those in need, both incarnate and discarnate, and in their cooperation in the dissemination of the instructive and inspiring messages. This is a very important one, I think, yeah? To help people become aware of the existence of the spiritual world. And also, I think, I remember Chico, of course, with the 450 books that he wrote, but also with when he received letters from the children who had died, remember that? He would write letters from the spirits of children who had passed away in accidents and things like that. So it was a very, how do you say that, consoling?
Comfort.
Yeah, comforting, yeah. So I think it's also very noble that we can use mediumship for that. Modesty. Modesty or humility. So pride, yeah, we must not forget that pride is something that is very ingrained in most of us. In mediumship, it's especially difficult if you go into it with too much pride. It can harm the work and it can harm yourself. So the spirits teach us that pride is the most influential moral imperfection and continuously warn their students of its signs and consequences. In avoiding the downfalls caused by pride, the good medium remembers that he or she is only a simple instrument of others employed under God's will. Continuous vigilance, so like Jesus said, pray and
Watch.
yeah. Like any spiritist, so not only those who have mediumship, any spiritist, the spiritist medium can be recognized by his or her efforts toward inner reform. The efforts, yeah? So day by day, what we can do day after day to improve ourselves. So it's not like we need to be perfect already, so we need to be vigilant, yeah, all the time. The good medium takes care to be vigilant of his, her thoughts and actions, yeah, every day. Discipline. A disciplined medium will take his or her responsibilities seriously and can be counted on for his or her punctuality and preparation for meetings. His, her vigilance and concentration in cooperation with the maintenance of harmonious vibrations during the session, and in his, her devotion to prayer and study. So, do I need to become a saint to be a good medium? Looks like it, yeah, eventually. But you can be a good medium without being a saint. So, like it said before, it's the effort, yeah? It's how much effort you put in your own improvement, your inner reform, not only as a medium, but also as a person in general, but for mediumship as well. So learning is a slow, lifelong process. The point is to strive for a tiny bit of progress every day. The above is the ideal, so what I mentioned before, yeah? It's the ideal. Consciousness, and vigilance, and discipline, it's the ideal. If we possess the ability to fulfill such ideals perfectly, we would be with God and not on this earth with our fellow brothers and sisters who are as fallible as we are. Yeah? So live your life as best you can, and every evening ask yourself, like Saint Augustine did, yeah? Have I learned anything today? Have I done good today? What mistakes have I made today? So we can apply that for our life in general, but I think here he mentions also in your mediumship or in the work with mediumship that you're doing. Be honest in answering those questions and let the answers be your guide for the next day. Remember that when you strive to live an ethical life and do good, you are never alone. Spirit friends, teachers, and of course God will open doors for you, help you endure the daily trials, and become guides that will be with you every day of your life. Yeah? So this is comforting as well. And I think we have a few minutes. Yeah, that's the part that I would like to open for discussion, if you could talk to someone beside you. Because, yeah, this is about mediumship per se, the real mediumship. But as Kardec mentions and Herculano Pires also mentions, we all have this emergent sense, this ability. But sometimes it's not, we are not working with it yet. But we all have it. It can be intuition, premonition, in dreams, coincidences that help or that happens in our lives. So I would like you to talk to someone beside you. In which ways is mediumship present in my life? So this is not spiritism in my life, it's mediumship in my life. And I would like to give my example. I think every day I remember mediumship, and it's very present in my life because of spiritism. Because spiritism is here because of mediumship. Yeah? The books and everything, So this is a reminder for me. What about you? How is it present in your life? Yeah? 5 minutes and then you just talk and then we finish.